Hello everyone, welcome to our very first class on photography and multimedia design. And on our first module, we're going to learn about camera operation and triangle exposure. But in order for us to understand how to do photography, we need to know what is a camera. Well, a camera is an optical device that functions to form and record the image of a subject onto a light-sensitive medium, such as a digital sensor or a film. In order for us to understand how a camera operates, we need to understand the many components of camera and their primary functions. Let's start with viewfinder. This allows you to view and frame your subject. Next, we have the built-in flash. This helps the camera to produce artificial light to illuminate a scene or subject. Next, we have the flash button. This forces the flash to pop up before being triggered. When it's pressed, it can also adjust the flash intensity via the flash exposure compensation. Next, we have context. This is what facilitates the communication between the lens and the camera, transmitting automatic data such as aperture, focal length, and focus adjustments. Next, we have lens mount. This is the mechanical connection that allows a lens to be attached to the camera body. Next is the lens release button. This is what unlocks the lens mount, allowing you to remove the lens from the camera body in order for you to change to a new lens or to clean it. Next, we have the mode dial. This is what used to change the camera shooting mode from auto to manual, aperture priority, or even shutter priority. Next, we have the focusing screen. This is the glass surface where the camera mirror projects the image. Next is condenser lens. This is what collects and directs the light from a light source to a specific point or plane. Next, we have a digital sensor. This is what captures the light coming through the lens in order to create a digital image. Next, we have the grip. This is what allows the user to comfortably hold the camera in order to provide a secure area for a firm hold. Next, we have shutter. This is what controls the duration of time that light reaches the camera sensor. Next is display. This acts as the interface between the user and the camera digital system for preview, settings, and image evaluation. Next is remote control sensor. This is what connects the camera to a remote control to trigger a shutter from a distance or at predetermined time. Next, we have shutter button. This is the physical button pressed to capture or record an image. Next, we have the reflex and relay mirror. This is a mirror positioned at a 45-degree angle to reflect the light from the lens to the viewfinder. This specific component is only found in DSLR cameras. More on that later. Next, we have aperture. This is what controls the volume or the amount of light that reaches the camera sensor. Next, we have the main dial. This is what used to adjust the parameters such as aperture, shutter speed, exposure compensations, and other settings. Next, we have the flash sync or hot shoe. This is what allows the camera to connect to external flash units and accessories such as wireless triggers, microphones, and light meters. Next, we have ISO. This is what controls the sensitivity of the camera sensor to the light. Next, we have the red eye reduction. This is what helps minimize the appearance of red eyes that is commonly found in portrait, which is caused by the flash reflecting off the subject's retinas. Next, we have the memory card slot. This is the compartment where all the photos are captured by the cameras are stored. Next, we have the tripod mount or the camera mount. This is a 1/4-inch threaded hole at the bottom of a camera used to secure the camera to a tripod head, or even a monopod. Now, I did mention about DSLR, but what is DSLR? Well, DSLR and mirrorless are two of the most common cameras you can find on the market nowadays. Well, the difference are as follows. First is mirror. Well, with DSLR, it has equipped with a mirror and a pentaprism or a pentamirror. While a mirrorless, as the name suggests, means there are no mirror mechanism involved in this camera. Next is how it works. For mirrorless, when the light hits the sensor directly, the image is shown on the LCD screen or even the electronic viewfinder (EVF). For DSLR, a mirror reflects the light into the optical viewfinder or OVF. The mirror then flips up when the shutter is pressed. As for the size and weight, mirrorless is much lighter and more compact, thus making it easier for travel and vlogging, while DSLR is much heavier and bulkier because of the internal mirror box and prism. Next, we have the viewfinder. For mirrorless, it uses EVF or electronic viewfinder, which displays a digital preview of the final image, which includes the exposure as well as the white balance. While optical viewfinder or OVF is what the lens see exactly with zero lag or digital processing in a DSLR camera. For autofocus, mirrorless uses an on-sensor phase and contrast detection, which is much superior for video and eye tracking, while DSLR uses a dedicated face detection sensor. This is historically much faster for tracking, but it is limited in live view. Next is the mechanical impact. For mirrorless, it has a very silent operation with minimal mechanical vibration, while for DSLR, it has the distinct clack sound and a slight camera shake from the mirror flipping. Now, after we learn about the difference between a DSLR and a mirrorless, as well as how a camera generally operates, let's start with the creative side of things. First, we're going to understand about triangle exposure. This is the fundamental and crucial concept in photography industry. By illustrating the relationship between aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, and how these three elements work together in order to control the brightness and creative look of an image. First on the line is aperture. This refers to the opening in a camera, where the size of the opening can be adjusted within the camera lens. The primary function of an aperture is light regulation, which controls how much light is entering the camera. Larger aperture means more light reaches the sensor. This is ideal for a low light conditions or when a faster shutter speed is required. While a small aperture means less light reaches the sensor. This is ideal for a bright conditions or when you need every element in the frame to be sharp. Aperture itself is measured in units called f-stops or f-numbers. So, the lower the f-stop value is, means the larger the diaphragm opening is, while the higher the f-stop value is, means smaller diaphragm opening. One thing to note, the f number and the physical size of the opening are inversely proportional. So, what creative impact does aperture brings? Well, it controls the depth of field, which is the distance between the nearest and farthest object in a scene that appear acceptably sharp or in focus. As you can see from the example right here, the smaller the aperture is, the larger the diaphragm opening, which causes a higher volume of light to come in. That causes a shallow depth of field, which causes the final outcome to be a blurry background or the bokeh effect while the subject stands out. This is commonly used in portraits. Next, for a larger aperture means the opening size is much smaller because lower light is coming in, causes the depth of field to be much more deep or wider. This causes everything from the foreground to the background to be sharp. This is commonly used in landscape. Next element is ISO. This refers to the sensitivity of the camera digital sensor to light. This is representing the extent to which the electric signal from the sensor is amplified after the light enters the camera. Well, what is the primary function of an ISO? It controls the texture quality of an image. With higher ISO, it increases the sensitivity. This is commonly used when you're shooting in the low light conditions or when you are using a very faster shutter speed without being able to open the aperture any wider. While a lower ISO means it decreases the sensitivity. This is used in bright light conditions or when you're using a flash. Low ISO is the ideal setting for the highest image quality. ISO itself is expressed in numerical units. So, every time the number doubles, the sensor sensitivity also increases by one full stop. What creative image does an ISO bring? Well, it controls the texture quality of an image. A higher ISO level means also digital noise or grain, as you can see over here. Lower ISO means the base sensitivity is normal, thus causing a minimal noise. Where it is in its optimal image quality, it is sharp, detailed, and clean texture. While higher ISO means it is much more sensitive, it has a visible noise, grainy texture, loss of fine details, and potentially lower the color saturation. The third and finally not least is shutter speed. This refers to the duration of time the camera sensor is exposed to the light through the lens. This regulates the speed of the shutter opening and closing. The primary functions of a shutter speed is light control. It manages the volume of light reaching the sensor over a specific period of time. The faster the shutter speed is, the faster the shutter opens and closes. This is typically used in bright light conditions to reduce the light intake or when you want to freeze a motion. The shutter remains open for a longer duration. It is typically used in the low light conditions to allow more light in or when you want to create a motion effect. Shutter speed is measured in fractions of a second or a full second. The smaller the fraction means the faster the duration, while larger fractions or even a whole number means that it is slower duration. One thing to note, the faster the shutter speed is, the less light enters the camera and vice versa. The creative impact of shutter speed is how movement is captured in a photo. They can be freezed in action or showing motion blur. First, let's start with the faster shutter speed. This creates a freeze motion. This completely freezes a moving subject. For example, how the water splash in the waterfall is suspended in mid-air. For slower shutter speed, it creates a motion blur. This is a blur effect on moving subject. This is used to create a sense of speed or even drama. As you can see, the water from the waterfall falls very smoothly, thus creating a smooth silhouette. Or you can see from the example here, light trails are created from car lights at night. And that's everything for our very first module on photography and multimedia design class. I hope you guys learned something from this. See you next time. Bye bye.